This picture might look all innocent and wholesome, but like most chimp stories here on YouTube, this one also has a very sinister backstory with an even darker ending. The chimp you are looking at is called Nim Chimpsky, which was part of an experiment called Project Nim, a very creative name indeed. The purpose of Project Nim was to see if a chimpanzee could actually learn to communicate using human language if raised as a normal human offspring in a very human-like environment. Nim Chimpsky was born back in 1973 on November 19th at the Institute for Primate Studies in Oklahoma. Already at this point, the story takes a rather dark turn when these primate nerds decided to forcefully adopt him from his mother instantly after he was born. Nim was then integrated into the research project led by a man called Herbert Terrace. The following years, he was raised by a human family in a large townhouse in Manhattan, with Stephanie Lafar, a former student of Herbert Terrace, functioning as his mother. Here, he was basically treated just like any other human offspring. This included using human clothes, being fed human food, even watching cartoons on TV. Nim also participated in all typical family activities you could think of. So other than being a biological goddamn chimp, he was pretty much a semi-functioning human in practice. Simultaneously, as all these human practices were taking place, he also learned sign language, as they were trying to mirror the language development you would see in a human youngster. This is already starting to be rather weird if you ask me, but it gets even weirder. You see, Project Nim was not only about teaching him human sign language, but it was also to see how well he could get integrated socially with humans. Which is why Nim was also exposed to a lot of socialization and interactions with other humans, as well as other animals. He was, for example, included in several family outings and parties. All this to document his behavior in different social contexts. Imagine going to your local neighborhood barbecue, and the main event isn't the overly intoxicated uncle, but a goddamn chimp doing all sorts of chimp activities. Now, like any good, unethical chimp experiment, one of the biggest concerns during Project Nim was his growing aggression levels. The last thing they wanted was for Nim to go absolute chimp mode and tear things up. And yes, that is indeed some foreshadowing for you. But first, we need to look at some of the factors that actually contributed to this change in behavior. The fact that this chimp was raised by humans and not by other chimps is obviously red flag number one, and would most definitely mess up his normal chimp development. However, the two biggest reasons, which often get completely ignored by every person who has, for some reason, tried to keep a chimp as a pet, is the fact that chimps in general will typically develop more and more dominance-seeking behaviors. This is obviously completely normal, as they would need it in order to survive and find their place in the wild. But in a captive setting, these behaviors often go unchecked, as they don't have any chimp role models that are firm enough to set boundaries. So when Nim got bigger and stronger, he was getting increasingly difficult to handle, and would therefore often test his human caretakers in order to find out where in the hierarchy he fitted in. This increase in difficulty also led to several changes in both homes and caregivers throughout the experiment. And just like human offspring, chimps form very strong bonds with their family members. So constant changes in both environment and family figures would be a great source for insecurities and stress. This lack of consistent emotional support and the need to adapt to new caregivers so rapidly would definitely lead to a lot of stress and further development of aggressive traits, which it did. As Nim continued to mature, his physical strength grew alongside his natural chimp tendencies. These dominant chimp traits are normal in adult chimps, but Nim's strange human upbringing pretty much messed him up mentally. At the age of 5, Nim reached his boiling point and went absolute chimp mode. The attack happened without warning when one of his caretakers entered the room. Nim, sitting across the room, quickly made his way over and jumped up to her face and went to town. Now, Nim was still kind of small, so he was swiftly removed and she came out with only minor injuries. Considering the fact that she could have gotten a full-blown face reconstruction, I think she got out of the situation fairly lucky. One very interesting detail about this event is the fact that Nim used sign language to say he was sorry, which does show that he felt some sort of remorse for his action. This incident, combined with several other smaller incidents and pressing ethical concerns, eventually led them to put an end to the project in 1977. But Nim's life was still not going to be easy, as he was transferred between several different facilities, including a brief stay at a medical research laboratory, where we can only assume that nothing good happened. He did, however, live out his last 3 years at the Black Beauty Ranch from 1997 until his life subscription ended in the early 2000s. This ranch was specifically designed to accommodate retired or rescued animals, such as Nim. Although reports do suggest that he was extremely lonely and even had signs of depression, he also only reached the age of 26, which is very low, as most chimps reach at least the age of 50 or more. The result of Project Nim, led by psychologist Herbert Terrace, concluded that while Nim Chimpsky learned to use over 125 signs of American Sign Language, he did not use language in a way that demonstrated true linguistic creativity. Terrace ultimately argued that Nim's communications were more about mimicking gestures for rewards, rather than engaging in meaningful conversation. The experiment also raised significant ethical questions and highlighted the complexities of interpreting animal communication as equivalent to human language, influencing future research on animal language capabilities and the ethics of similar studies. While Nim's story highlights the complexities of teaching language to primates, he's not alone in crossing communication barriers. We have, for example, Koko. This gorilla was smarter than a 5-year-old and could literally communicate with humans. Koko learned over 1,000 signs in American Sign Language. She was also able to understand more than 2,000 words of spoken English. To put this into perspective, an average human child can understand around 2,000 words at the age of 4 or 5, but it gets even more impressive. What set Koko apart from other cases of animals learning human language is the fact that she showed an extremely deep understanding of emotions as well as thoughts. She even cared for several pet kittens throughout her life with very gentle care, showing clear signs of mourning when they passed away. According to her caregivers, Koko was even able to communicate her dreams using sign language. This ability suggests a level of self-awareness and introspection that is quite sophisticated. Koko was also a distinguished artist, with several of her pieces displayed in various exhibitions. She is arguably the most famous gorilla to ever walk this planet, and met with several celebrities including Robin Williams and Fred Rogers, which were indeed documented. She did, however, pass away in 2018 at the age of 46, which is quite good for a Western lowland gorilla. Lastly, I have another chimp story for you, just to remind you why we should never keep chimps, or any other wild animal, for that matter, as pets. This next story is also a testament to how bad Project Nim could have gone. This is why chimps are no longer allowed as pets. Meet Travis, a chimpanzee known for drinking wine, watching TV, and starring in his own TV commercials. Travis was purchased by Sandra Herold when he was just 3 years old. And yes, it was indeed legal to own chimps at the time, which in hindsight is absolutely wild to think about. Travis was also brought up just like a human, which included several human activities like wearing clothes, and even being able to use keys to open doors. One day, in 2009, Travis managed to lock himself out of the house. Sandra then called her friend Nash to help get him inside, but instead he went absolute chimp mode and pretty much gave her a complete face remodel job free of charge. Sandra tried to hit Travis with a shovel and even stabbing him, but this chimp did not care at all and just continued his work. When the police finally arrived, he instantly tried to destroy their car. He was then quickly given some supersonic bullets straight to the chest. This prompted him to retreat back inside his house, where his soul eventually got disconnected from reality. Anyways, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, then maybe watch some of my other videos on screen, and I will see you in the next one.